Welcome to the Masquerade Show, where we bring more light everywhere through heart-to-heart conversations. Welcome to the Masquerade Show. I'm your host, Alysha Ellis, and I have a very special guest today for episode 81, Antwan Steele. How are you today?
I am well. I cannot complain. Other than this weird weather, I'm
Cleveland vibes all day. Yeah. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's
the Masquerade Show. We finally got you in the building.
It's an absolute privilege. I love what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So share a little bit about who you are to the audience.
Yeah. So like I said, my name is Antwan Steele. Most people call me Twan. I am an author. I am an entrepreneur. I am a speaker or communicator, like we were just talking about. But my focus right now is working with single men and women, helping them to maximize their singleness and prepare for marriage. My wife and I also have a nonprofit. We do a lot of work with the youth. And I'm just somebody who cares.
I love it.
Just somebody who cares. That's the thing that I would probably like to say the most. I'm somebody that cares. Yeah.
I love that. And you can feel that. It's genuine. You know, we've connected sometime last year, but now, growing a relationship and seeing how we can work together and collaborate. And so when I was learning more about your story and what you had going on, I'm like, that's something that I want to help share through what we're creating with Masquerade and bringing guests on who can talk about truth, who can talk about their living. Because I think a lot of times that we see right now is people are projecting an image on social media and that personality, but when you get to sit down with them, it's totally different.
Absolutely.
And so we had a brief conversation a couple weeks ago just to kind of get to know each other a little bit more and to learn more. And I felt that with you and what you're working on. So we're talking about singles and helping singles. Like, why that?
Yeah. So I don't want to go way back because we'd be on this podcast for about 2 or 3 hours. But typical story. I was a young guy, just kind of like wild, doing my thing, partying, kicking it, messing around with the girls in college, typical college boy story. And around 2009, 2010, I kind of started to feel like this draw, but I denied it. I kind of like pushed it away. And then, I just the lack of peace, the lack of unfulfillment. And in 2012, April 10th, 2011, April 10th, on a Sunday morning around 11 o'clock in the morning. Like I remember like it was yesterday.
Got another details.
I committed my life to Christ. Wow. And I remember at that point, I was just in the kitchen. I had just got off the phone with one of my friends and I was in the kitchen and I was just standing there like, just staring at the wall. And I was like, Mom, I'm about to change my life. And she was like, no, that's cool, baby. I'm like, no, I'm about to change my life. And I didn't realize it wasn't me changing anything. It was God changing me. And later on, my girlfriend at the time came and picked me up. And I got in the car and I'm like, I'm not drinking. I'm not smoking. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And she was real quiet. And she was like, so what about sex? And I was like,
about that.
Yeah, because in my mind, I thought that would be the one thing that I would kind of like have to wean myself off. Everything else, I'll just stop cold turkey. But when she said it, I was going so hard that I felt like if I would have been like, well, not that, we'll wait on that. I felt like I would have been a hypocrite. So in that moment, I was like, yeah, you're right. No sex. And that started me on my journey of abstinence. And I never looked back. And one thing that really kind of like really catapulted me into like this seriousness about really keeping myself was one night after all of this happened, her and I, broke up. I remember a girl had asked to come see me. It was like 2, 3 in the morning. I was with, hanging out with my brother. We was at his apartment and I'm like, such and such just asked to come over, but it's cool though. I'm gonna just go in the car. I ain't like we about to do nothing. And when I got in the car, immediately like she just like got on top of me and was like kissing me and stuff. And I'm kind of like surprised because I'm like, well, I'm saved. Like this is not supposed to be happening, but I like it. Right. And then I ended up like pushing her off me and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And I got out of the car. And at that moment, it really showed me that it don't matter how much you pray. It don't matter how much you read your word. I don't care who you are. If you put yourself in the environment of temptation, you're more likely to fall. And then at that point, I realized that I'd rather be wise than strong. That was my motto. I'd rather be wise than strong. The wise thing would have been that for me to do was to say, no, I'm sorry, you can't come. But since I didn't do that, now she's over here and now I got to be strong and fight it. Now, thank God I was able to get out of that situation. But that showed me like, no, just like flee from, that temptation. And that led me on my journey of just being abstinent. And I think that as a single man, I started to see like the struggles of being a kingdom single versus being a single in the world, and dealing with the pressures and being the only person that wasn't married, because all of my friends ended up getting married around the same time. So I'm in pictures and it's 5 of us or 7 of us, and I'm the only one that's not with someone. And just dealing with the weight of the weight and all the pressures that come with it. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start like talking about this on social media. So every now and then I would like put up quotes and stuff like that, and people started to like, that was good. Like, I like that. Can you share some more? So I would, send out emails. I would post things, and people were starting to gravitate towards me as a single. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe I got something here. So that's what kind of led me to that point, but I didn't know exactly what I was doing just yet.
Wow. So it was your own experience. And that's why I love entrepreneurship, because a lot of time we go into it because it's a problem we are facing.
Yeah,
it's a
absolutely.
pain that we have.
Absolutely.
And right now I'm teaching a class on entrepreneurship, and I'm helping with the students, and they're like, well, I don't really have a headache. I'm like, well, take a note of how many times something aggravates you in one day. That's a problem. That creates a headache. That's a pain. And most entrepreneurs, 95% of us, are creating solutions to problems that we face or someone that we know are facing. So I love the piece that you talked about, strength versus wisdom, because you can be weak and still have wisdom.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And I believe God, really, we're not supposed to be strong. So even the fact that you got out that situation was nothing but God's grace to begin with.
Absolutely.
Because it was a weakness that manifested there for you. And I feel like so often we think we have to be strong, and God's like, no, that's me. I'm strong in you. We have no ability to be strong. And once I became more aware of that the last 2 or 3 years, because I come from a lot of women in my family, like strong women, that's the backbone. That's what we've heard, especially in our communities of color, is like Black and brown strong women. And if we really look at it, how is that working for us? And I looked at my mom and my grandma and their stories and how much they've had to overcome as strong women. And I'm like, I don't want to be strong.
No,
It's in my weakness that God is strong. And I love that piece about the wisdom, because God will give you wisdom in so many moments of temptation, of weakness.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's so important. And I feel like, we're just, like you said, we're so accustomed to say, like, be strong, bro, or somebody pass away. It's all right. Be strong for them. You got to be strong for your family. We understand that strength is important, but there is strength in your weakness, because you're in your weakness you express vulnerability, right? And from there, there is true healing, and there is the opportunity to be able to let go of some of the things that you're dealing with. But if you always putting on face that I'm strong and nothing bothers me, it's like you're dying inside, and you gotta let that out. So I'm with you on that for sure.
And it's this external guard that we put up, and what it does is prohibit us from really experiencing love in so many different ways. And so I don't want to get into
no, you good.
You're from being single and now to experience love with your wife. Shout out wifey. You couldn't make it today, but we're gonna get you both on the show soon. So navigating business with your wife. I love these type of stories because it's a model, right, for our community and our culture that we don't really see much. And I love especially young love in marriage and business. So share with us, that process of navigating business with your wife, and you guys are bringing your gifts together, but you're also functioning in your individuality too. Yeah.
So honestly, I feel like more so than anything, as far as like with business or our marriage, it really comes down to communication. It really comes down to us being able to convey to one another what we need, what we're doing, what's the vision, making things very clear, and kind of being proactive with stuff instead of kind of, waiting for things to happen and then deal with them later. I was just talking about this on I did a live the other night with Trey, and shouts out to Trey, my brother DJ and Deontay. I did a live with them the other night. It was very powerful, and we were just talking about communication. There's 2 things that I feel like helps me and my wife, and when I say helps me, I'm not saying that I'm perfect in this, all right? I'm saying that these are things that I'm mindful of, because I think half the battle is just being mindful of the things. If you're not mindful of it, then you can't really deal with it, right? So the first thing is, And this is a quote that I stand by: is to not expect was not communicated, and not consume was not not assume was not confirmed. So do not expect was not communicated, or assume what is not confirmed. Meaning, if you didn't express that thing, then you can't expect it, right? And then don't assume or create this narrative in your mind if you don't know it to be, for sure.
That's good.
Because a lot of times we do that. So I can be thinking, well, I need my wife to, work on this back end stuff, or my wife is very good with graphics. She needs to do this, or she needs to do that. But it's like, did I communicate that with her? So that's a constant thing I have to remind myself. Do not expect what's not communicated or assume what's not confirmed. And then the second thing is we do this thing called a table talk, where once a week we need to sit down with one another and talk about the things that, we're dealing with in our marriage, whatever it is, business, marriage, parenthood. I give her 15 minutes. She give me 15 minutes of uninterrupted time.
Okay.
So we sit down and it's me 15 minutes, because if you don't set these boundaries and the first time that person says something, like, hold on, no. It's like, no, hear me out first. Right. So the rule is the only time that I can interrupt her or she can interrupt me is if we are both asking for clarity on something. Okay. So if I'm like, hey, you mentioned that we got this podcast on this day. Can you be clear with me on, what time it is? Like, asking like clarifying questions or whatnot. So that's the only time. But then once she shares what she shares, I share what I share, then we can kind of like start to like, have a dialogue around it, because we both feel heard. And a lot of times the reason why there's a lot of conflict with people is because they just don't feel heard. And if you don't feel heard, you can't feel understood. Yeah. You don't feel understood, you don't feel accepted. I mean, it goes so much deeper than that, whatever. So for us, we have to fight to be proactive, because if we rely on how we're feeling in the moment, maybe you're having a bad day, maybe, we are not clicking. If we rely on things in the moment and, to be our form of communication, then we're more likely or more prone to, have arguments or butt heads. So I feel like for me, those were, two things that I feel like that helps us in our, communication with business and marriage and life in general. And
like, I'm sure there's going to be so much that evolves over time, right? And I think that's the beauty of communicating, healthy communication. Yeah. I like to say like healthy dialogue. And that's like with the show is bringing people in. We can have those heart-to-heart dialogue sessions, because there's not space unless you create it. Sometimes that you always hear like, you got to find peace, gotta find joy. Like, okay, where are you finding that at? No, you work to create with the creator to manifest that, whether that's in your marriage or your business or different relationships. And so that's so beautiful. And I love hearing those type of stories, because like I said, we're not really seeing it, at least on platforms that are conducive to our health, mentally, spiritually, physically. And that's another reason why I wanted to create the show and the platform, to help share the positive work that we're doing. Whether we're going to have our challenges, right? Your marriage is going to go through ups and downs. That's life. We're going to life be life. And that's what someone said. And I'm like, man, life be life. And okay, that is fact. But you're in it for the long haul. You're in it because it's not about the two of you. It's about what God has destined for the two of you in your family, in your legacy. So putting that work in is required. It's not optional.
It's not. It's a necessity. I mean, it's the first established institution in all of humanity was marriage, right? And from marriage comes the family, and from family comes the community. From community comes everything else. But if we were to go, a little bit deeper than that, the first person that was created was a single man. And then, from there, so on and so forth. So I think that, and I know we'll talk about that as far as the maximize your singleness stuff, but that's why, it breaks my heart when I see marriages at odds or people getting divorced. Like the statistic, and I don't know, it varies, but I think there's like 600 to 800 something thousand divorces that are happening each year in America. And if you think about that, let's just say
1 out of 2, right? It's like almost 50%. As much as 50%.
So if let's just say 700,000 divorces, right? Because the numbers are different for different sites. I mean, some people say less, some people say more, but let's just say 700. That 700,000 number that's that number. But if you think about it, it's 1.4 million people that's being impacted directly. But then you think about children and siblings and parents, your intermediate family and your friends and your colleagues. If a man and a woman gets divorced, there are millions of people that's being impacted by these divorces that are happening each year in America. Every year, though.
Right.
So now imagine if I'm a young man and all I see is, toxicity, or bad relationships or bad marriages. And I grow up, and when I'm at that point where I can actually do this, I don't want to do it because I have all these bad examples. And that's what's happening, right? And then think about, if that's all the people that's actually divorced, how many people are not technically divorced, but they're divorced in their hearts?
Yeah.
So that is one of the reasons, literally one of the reasons why I started doing what I do as it relates to working with single men and women.
Yeah. So,
literally.
So talking about that, right? The singleness and now being married, like, so are you both also doing like anything with married couples too? Like, how does that work? Because you're not single anymore, right? I'm sure there's a lot of advice, and that's a lot in your book, and we'll talk about that. But your reality now, your truth now is, you're married. So how has that transition been? Yeah.
So, and I knew that at some point that would be like a question or a concern for singles once I made that transition. But my heart is for single men and women. But we're coming up on 5 years.
Wow, congratulations.
October 5th. And I'm kind of sad because that's one of the days of Futureland. And I wanted to be there so badly.
Shout out Futureland, the 5th through the 7th of October this year.
Yeah, but we'll be out of town. But what I've learned in these 5 years, I do feel like that we can, teach married couples. But for me, I feel like my wife and I have held off on talking about marriage because we feel like we wanted to get some years under our belt. Yeah. Like singleness, I've done that, right. So I feel like I can speak to it confidently, right? Marriage, I'm not saying I can't speak to marriage. I feel like I can probably teach somebody that's been married for 25 years. But for us, our focus is working with single men and women. So now one thing I do want to say, you can be single and dating, you can be single and in a relationship, you can be single and engaged. And obviously you could be single and by yourself. But if you're not married, you are single. So we do work with single men and women who are engaged or who are seriously dating or in committed relationships. And one of the things that we really want to start doing is working on pre-engagement coaching. Not premarital, right? Premarital is after you propose, but pre-engagement, that's before you decide to get engaged. And the reason why we feel like pre-engagement is honestly just, if not more important, is just as important as premarital, is because when you put that ring on that woman's finger, it's like the focus becomes more about getting to that wedding and pulling off the wedding than it is the marriage. Okay. So I feel like, you say you got to save the days, you lock in the venue, but y'all are at odds. Y'all need to get these things, under, control or have these conversations to kind of prepare yourselves. But because y'all have this wedding and y'all are putting all this money up, you can kind of put that on the back burner, right? Yeah. So, and I'm not saying that's the case for every single person, but I would encourage single men and women who are thinking about proposal to do pre-engagement. Now, yes, you can say, well, what if that's a kind of dead giveaway that, she's going to know I'm about to propose. You still can do it in a way that you want to do it. But if that is your main focus, then you're already not thinking the right stuff, right? So I feel like pre-engagement is something that we are really going to start pushing right now. And then as we continue to transition, we'll get to that married stuff. Yeah.
That's good, because it's like you can't sell something you don't own. So you teaching singles to best prepare themselves for marriage, and you're not married, then why would I come and talk with you? Because it's like trying to go buy something and like, oh, go get this hair growth and it don't work. And you bought. So that don't make no sense at all. So you are a living testament to your journey. Yeah. And now you're able to give it away. And I think so often, when we're talking about this before we jumped on, so often people are portraying something that they don't really own. Yeah. So they're giving away something that's empty because they don't truly own it. Yeah. And that's a big piece of a no-no, because now people are looking at you as this expert or this person who's living in truth, and you open up that box and the box is empty. You giving away false prophecy, you giving away all types of illegitimate services and products because you're not fully owning it. Yeah. And I think that ownership in our community is something that we are learning, right? And we're stepping into the truth of what it means to own whether it's your home, whether it's your belief, whether it's freedom, it is a practice.
All of that.
And that's what I see with you all, and obviously not knowing you guys intimately yet, but knowing from what I see is this is something that is fruitful because you own it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why that's where when the authority or the genuineness is felt or the confidence is felt is because you're living these things. And for me, I lived the singleness. I was abstinent for nearly 8 years. Wow. I was working on myself as a single, the spiritual maturity, physical well-being, emotional stability, mental protection, financial security. I feel like those things as far as holistic improvement were things that I was working on, I was doing. And I feel like it led me to the point that I'm at right now. So it's like, okay, if I did these things, and I'm not saying that you have to do these things in order to earn somebody's love, because somebody should accept you for who you are. But let's be real, you do got to put in that work, right? For yourself. And then as you put in that work for yourself, you will attract that type of person. You draw that type of person, whatever. But it's important to really, embody, the things that you teach and preach. Otherwise, you're just another hypocrite. Again, we're not talking about perfection. We're talking about progression. We're talking about preparation. We're talking about intentionality. So
yeah, that's good. Like we always hear, you attract who you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel that when I look at not even just relationships, like romantic relationships, but all relationships. Yeah. And so it's very encouraging to hear. It gives us hope of singles, it gives us hope that there is this type of equipping for us to get better prepared for what is next. Right. And I think that so many people, they get into relationships. We get into relationships because we're seeking something. And I'm in a season now where I thought I was ready for what was next, which I thought was marriage. And God's like, now I want to show you what real love is. And that love is, I'm the source of that love. And I was like, dang, Lord, now I got to sit here and go through this when I thought I was ready for what was next. And that's like, I feel like so many of us, we're looking for a love from somebody when we're not even capable of accepting or giving it. And that's where I had to really sit and be with just God. Because my heart and from my environment, from generational things, for so many things, created this false identity from protection to protect myself. And there was no way I could give away love that I never experienced. And that's why I feel like in that equipping, and I know there's some faith and center. So share about what people can expect through working with you guys as a single. Yeah,
and I before I say that, I just love what you just said, because people are capable of being loved and loving someone, but only God is love. Like that's the source. So when you are reflecting it or embodying it, you are reflecting or embodying God. Right. But if you are in a space where He is not your source, then that love is not, coming from the place that it's supposed to come from. If God is who He is, the essence of all existence, right? If He is who He is, we should be tapping in with Him. And then from there, everything just kind of falls in line. And that's one of the things that is so important. It's so important and big for us when it comes to working with single men and women. So if I'm thinking about one of my mentor, my business mentor, he always talks about how, when you are doing these webinars or when you're starting these programs off or when you're having these classes or these master classes or whatever it is, as a business owner that's talking about your stuff, you always need to start off with mindset, right? You always need to start off with telling people that they can, believe in themselves, that they can do this. Or, I like to think of it like this. So there's purpose, right? Purpose is like the overarching theme, right? That's like, no matter what, everybody has purpose in this earth. Our purpose is to know God, love God, and show God. Our purpose is to glorify Him, right? That is our purpose. So no one can say they're without it. But then if we want to drill in and get more specific, everybody has a specific calling in their life, right? It can change. It could be temporary. It could be permanent. But everybody have a specific calling in their life. Like right now, you are called to do this. And other things, I'm sure, but you are called to have this podcast. From your calling, You can create a vision for yourself. What do you see for yourself, right? What do you see for yourself in life? And then from the vision, you say, okay, I see this. Now let me put some belief on that. I got to believe in this vision that I'm called to because of my purpose. So now I believe in this vision. I believe in this thing, so now I'm going to commit to it. When I commit to it, then I have focus. When I have focus, then I'm disciplined. And then if I'm disciplined, from my discipline comes my consistency. So if I had to reverse engineer it, I'm consistent because I'm disciplined. I'm disciplined because I'm focused. I'm focused because I commit. I commit because I believe. I believe because I have a vision for myself that I can see. And I have a vision for myself because I know my calling, because I know my purpose. So, that is extremely important. But back to what I was saying, he talks about the importance of mindset. But for me, when I get on the call with singles, I'm talking about identity.
Yeah.
So that's my form of it.
Part.
Your identity is so important. If you don't know who you are in Christ, if you don't understand your identity, nothing else aligns the way that it's supposed to align. So if you don't know who you are, you don't know yourself. How can you go out here and interact with somebody else? You don't even know what you want. You don't know what you need. You don't know what you're looking for because you don't know you. So we start with identity. So those that are in our singles, our Maximize Your Singleness membership, we have this whole portal. It's 50 classes. When they come in, they can tap in. They can go from identity. Then we talk about healing, and we're just breaking down all the things. It's 50 classes that breaks down all the things that we feel are a necessity for single men and women. And also in this membership, there is the opportunity to connect with like-minded individuals. So you have accountability, you have community, and you have opportunity. Accountability. We're going to hold you responsible for the things that you say you need to get done, right? The things that you want to do to be the best version of yourself. Community, like I said, like-minded single men and women. We singles, I wish that I had this when I was single. And that's one of the things we want to be for singles, what we had, we had when we were single. If I had a group of single men and women that I can talk to when I'm feeling lonely, or somebody that's facilitating this opportunity for us to connect, I feel like I would have been so much better in my singleness.
That's amazing.
And then opportunity. You might, find your best friend, your business partner, or client, or most importantly, you might find your spouse. So that is what we do in our membership.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Signing up. Who's signing up, right? I love that. But we're going to come back. We're going to take a quick commercial break.
Yeah.
We will be right back with the Masla Ray Show.
The Masla Ray podcast is brought to you by Breakthrough Sounds, a recording studio and media company located in Valley View, Ohio. Your creativity creates here. Schedule a tour today at btsoundscle.com.
Welcome back to the Masla Ray Show. Again, we have a special guest with us today, Antwan. We're diving deep into identity, purpose, marriage, singleness, all that good stuff. But I like to play different games on the show just to kind of mix it up. Okay. And one thing I was thinking about when we were just on was, okay, let's do some type of role playing. So you as a mentor, as a coach, coaching singles in their process of preparation for the next step in their lives. I'm curious on what your thoughts would be and if I was a single coming to you. So I'm going to kind of play a little character.
Come on, let's do it.
We might get a little ratchet in here just to kind of, because I'm sure you got all type of people.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And that come. So, and I also want to hear some of those wild stories that you may have with clients. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm coming to you as a young single woman. Okay. I have 2 kids. And I'm engaged to somebody, but that man also has 3 kids, and there's some challenges with commitment and him with other women.
Okay.
So what would you say, immediately talking with me?
Yeah, that's a very easy one. I would tell you to disengage ASAP. I feel like if you are talking to someone and that person is engaging other people, that's a sign of unfaithfulness. So if you are unfaithful at a low level of commitment, then you're going to be unfaithful, or most likely going to be unfaithful at a high level of commitment. So I feel like I would tell you to walk away. If you can't walk away, then I would ask why. There must be some, value issues, some worthy issues there. That's hindering you, and I don't think that you would be in a place to really date right now.
So I'm sure a lot of people are going to respond, but I love him. Yeah.
No, I get it. And you can be telling the truth, but I think that no one who has true love for somebody, will put them in a position to do something that's going to break their heart. Now, I'm not saying my wife and I disappoint her all the time. I get on her nerves, and that's just the reality.
I don't believe it.
She get on my nerves, I get on her nerves, but that's my wife. But I told my wife the other day, this is so fun. I know this is supposed to be rapid, but I told my wife the other day, I had came home after doing an event, and I had my glasses on, and then I came in, I took my glasses off, and I'm like, you know what? Let me take the dog out real quick. I put my glasses back on. She was like, what you put your glasses back on for? Who you going to see? Let me find out. And her and her sister started laughing, and I was laughing like it's funny. I'm like, sweetie, I'm like, you know what? I can look you dead in your eye and say that you are the only woman that I've been with since we've been married. I can look you dead in your eye and say that I'm faithful to you and only you. Can't not even one woman on this earth say that I've even as much as flirted with them. And I just looked her dead in her eye, and I kept looking. And then she started laughing, and I was like...
So here you need glasses?
Yeah, right. And I walked away, and it was like, I know this, she knows it, but it felt good to say it. And I think that if a man loves you or a woman loves you, they're not going to put you in a position to hurt, to break your heart in that regard. And if somebody, and when I mean like break your heart, I mean, doing something like abuse, abandonment, adultery. And I feel like people can make a mistake. People can have moral failures. That really happens. But I'm not going to do anything habitual to hurt my wife. So
that's good. All right, next one here. All right. 35, young man, right? I don't see myself settling down. Okay. I like to be with a lot of different women at the same time. And people keep encouraging me to get married, but I just don't see that, for myself or for my future.
Yeah. I would want to know why you don't see marriage, in your future. Maybe, there are some things that you're experiencing. But honestly, you're not my target audience. You're not my customer. I want to work with men and women who don't necessarily have to be married. You don't have to be married to be a part of our community. But if you are someone who wants to freely mess around with women, then there's really nothing that I can say to you that's going to like change that if that's what your heart is set on, because I'm about abstinence. So if you are a single man that's what you're on, do you have the freedom and liberties to do that. But if you want to be a part of our program, I'm going to tell you different. I'm not going to tell you you can't be a part of our program, right. But if you come into this program, that's what you're going to hear.
This is the expectation. Yeah. All right, last one. Woman, 21 years old, already been divorced once, married very young, 2 kids. I have a desire for love but I'm very hurt at the trauma that I've been through with my last marriage, and my kids are suffering. Yeah. What do you tell her?
Yeah, I would first and foremost, that your hurt, your pain is extremely legitimate, right? Somebody going through divorce, that's just, you should be hurt, especially if you have kids. There's a lot of involvement there. But I would tell that woman to first and foremost go get therapy. I think that she needs to talk those things out, and she needs to get on this healing journey. But I would say before you can heal, you got to forgive. Forgiveness is the gateway to healing. So you need to heal. You need to forgive yourself. You need to forgive him, or even maybe forgive God. Whatever it is, you need to get into the mindset of pardoning what somebody did to you, or the things that you allowed to happen. And then from there, you can start this healing journey. But there's this whole breakdown I have. It's called the 835 method. I'm not going to explain it.
This is official stuff out here. We're not just giving advice.
I'm not going to give that to you all here. But I would tell that person to work on forgiveness, and then they can start their journey to healing, but then go to therapy.
All right. I can't pass up my own story. So I'm just going to throw myself in the bucket here, because that's what we talk about in the Maslow ratio. Okay. I'm vulnerable. I'm personal.
I respect
All right.
it.
31 years old, single, no kids. Still hopeful, but also like, is it for me? Is it going to happen? How long do I wait? Versus, is there opportunities to maybe settle for a man that kind of reaches some of those expectations, but there's some things that I don't see myself in a spouse with. Yeah. So what's your thoughts and advice to that?
So I'm actually about to release a free ebook called The Red, Yellow, and Green Lights of Dating.
Okay.
So it's going to talk about when to stop, slow down, and keep going. But for you, I think that a lot of people feel like this. They feel that God is, obviously God, all things is possible with him, and God can do it, right? but people feel like, will God do it for me?
Yeah.
So it's like we feel like we're just that person that's so unspecial, or, you know, just not the one that God can't do it for. I think that, you know, we have to, you know, obviously believe that that's something that, you know, we can have, because marriage is designed by God. It's a good thing. It's a God thing. So I would say these are 3 things that every man and woman should look for in as far as like prerequisites, you know, as it relates to dating. Is that person a believer? Does that person have a marriage mindset? And when I say marriage mindset, I'm not talking about they want a spouse. Because typically when somebody say they want to be married, they're talking about all the things they want. Because we naturally see ourselves as the recipient and not the contributor. We're just naturally selfish like that. But not just want a spouse, but want to be a spouse, and even more preparing to be a spouse.
That part.
And then lastly, committed to holistic improvement, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. And the reason why I say that is because as a single man or woman, there should be nothing in your life that you're unwilling to get better at. Because if you have that mindset in your singleness, then that's going to transfer over into your marriage. So if you are out here and you're like, these are 3 things I'm looking for, they got those 3 things, those are the basis. And then obviously attraction, and then you can kind of figure out what your non-negotiables are. But if they got those 3 things, I feel like you can work with that.
All right, fellas, the ones that be in my DMs, if you're not hitting the 3 basic fundamentals, you're not getting a response.
She gonna send them to me.
Look, go talk to my brother over there. He's gonna get you together.
Facts.
All the way together.
Facts.
No, I think that's good. And I talked to some of my girlfriends. I have a girlfriend right now. She's in the dating, like she was single for so long, and she was in a place where she didn't date for a long time. And now she's dating, and, you know, she's dating freely, you know, but also, you know, very covenant with God and spirituality. And we were talking about it, and I was like, I'm not dating anyone. I don't have a desire to date. And I think that's also part of some of the other women, and I'm talking who are aligned spiritually. It's like, you know, do you date? Do you not date? And I think at the end of the day, you have to be led by God. Yeah. Because what's for her right now in dating, she needs that. Yeah. You know, for me, it's like, I don't need that. Yeah. And it's okay on both ends. But at the end of the day, you can get all of the advice from well-seasoned individuals, but you have to bring that back to your quiet time, back to God, and behold, okay, now that I'm more informed, now that I have some people who are aligned with you too, who's giving me this wisdom and this knowledge and preparing me and understanding. Yeah. Now, how are you going to direct me for what I know now? Yeah. And I think that's a critical piece. Whether you're with a therapist or a financial coach, anything that's giving you advice, you still have to go back to God and behold that, so you can be led and direct for what's next for you.
Absolutely. You know, when it comes to this whole dating thing, I look at it like this. There's 2 approaches or 2 styles of dating. You're either dating casually or you're dating exclusively. And there's 2 intentions. You're either dating to get married or you're dating not to get married. That's literally what it is. So you're either dating casually with no intent to get married, which is the worst way to date. You're dating exclusively with no intentions to get married. And to me, I feel like that's a counterfeit way. You're dating casually with the intent to get married. That's the riskiest way. Or you're dating exclusively with the intent to get married. And that to me is the most appropriate way. And I feel like that's how it should be. You know, now everybody has their own style. Me personally, I believe that you should date exclusively with the intent to get married. But if you don't, that's on you. To each his own. But I look at it like this. This is the timeline. So it's dates, dating, relationships. There's a difference. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna ask you some questions real quick.
Oh, I know this is reverse. All right, look, here we go.
What is the title of a man that is married? What's his title?
Husband.
What's the title of a woman that's married?
Wife.
What's the title of someone who is engaged?
A fiance.
What do you call a man or a woman that you are in a relationship with?
Or girlfriend or boyfriend.
What do you call somebody you're dating?
Someone I'm dating.
What do you call somebody you're going on a date with?
A date.
Now, if I ask that question to 10 different people, I'll get 10 different answers. So now when I ask you, what do you call a man or a woman that's married? You said husband and wife, right? Just like that. Same thing with engagement. You said fiance, just like that. But when we get to that relationship, dating and dates, everybody is going to have a different perspective, right? So if you have your own perspective, he has his own perspective, you already are at odds. So a date is a social or romantic engagement between a man or a woman. Dating is something that's done exclusively when you're seeing someone on a regular basis, right? And then relationship is a monogamous commitment between a man or a woman. The purpose of going on a date is to see if we can get to dating. The purpose of dating is to see if we can get to a relationship. The purpose of relationship is for engagement. Dates, it should be 3 to 4 dates, right? This is for
science
somebody
behind this, y'all. This is science.
I'm telling you, look, this is not like it has to, like everybody have to do it this way. I'm just giving you a guideline to follow, right? And this is for people who are already prepared to date. So dates, 3 to 4 days, right? It should take you no more than 3 or 4 days to figure out if this
I'll be in there the first 3 minutes, boy, I tell you.
You're like,
I don't need no 3 or 4 dates.
Okay, I'm gone. But yeah, so
but on
I
average,
feel like it can but I feel like it can be less though.
Yeah.
So 3 to 4 days, that could be like a 1 or 2 month process. Then we get into we go from dates to dating. Now, when we're at the dating phase, we're not together, but we're dating, we're collecting data. We're dating to get clarity on one another. That is a process that can be anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And then once you get to a point where you're feeling like, all right, we're dating, we really like each other, then we transition into a relationship. The moment that you make a man or a woman your significant other is the moment that you pursue them as a spouse, because otherwise there's no point to be in a relationship, right? The relationship stage, that could be anywhere between 6 to 12 months. And then engagement, that should be, once you get engaged, you should, know, like we need to move forward. That could be a 9 to 12 month process, whatever. But from dates, dating, and relationships, it can be a 10 to 20 month process for somebody who is ready.
Right.
That's why it's like we're in this, and when you get into this membership, we are having these conversations. I'm giving information. I'm having you all connect. We're doing this because we're trying to prepare you so that it doesn't take you so long to get to the altar, and then you are as best prepared as you can be when you get there.
All right.
So.
All right. Well, you guys know where to sign up, and we're going to drop that before we wrap this episode. But I wanted to get back to, before we went on commercial, talking about identity. So you started with purpose, calling.
Yeah.
Your mentor talks about mindset. You like to use identity. That resonates for me. I wrote a book a year and a half ago, and it's the Complete, the Pathways of True Self-Discovery. And for me, understanding identity was fundamental for me to be where I'm at now and where I'm going. And so for you, identity, and I'm sure there's a lot of similarity, if not identical, but I want you to share with me and with the audience, your process of helping people identify their true identity.
Yeah. I want them to start with God first and foremost. I want them to start there. I want them to start with Christ. So when you know who He is, you know who you are. When you know who you are, you know why you are here. When you know why you're here, you know what to do. And I feel like so many people are naturally attaching themselves to things that are temporary. They build their whole platform, their whole identity, their whole worth, their meaning, their value off of money, off of a relationship, off of a status, off of a connection. And that all of those things that I just mentioned and more can immediately just evaporate, can disappear. And then what? Then what do you have? So for us, it's about building your identity on God, who is constant, who never fails, who is foundational to all of what exists, all of what is, the creator of the heavens and the earth. So I feel like if I can rest in that, and then not only did He define us, but He died for us, and then He dwells within us. But if you think about Him being the Most High God, and He is the one that created you and designed you, that should give you a sense of like worth. Like you should have a pep in your step. The way you maneuver, the way you walk around, the way you move about, it would just be different. You wouldn't settle for just anybody. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, one of them hit. I'm talking to you. Let's say they called you and was like, "Hey, we just found out you are our cousin. We did. What is that? 320, whatever. What is that thing?
The
you
ancestry
do?
or something.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. If they did that and they just did the data and they found all the people that they're related to, and they hit you up and they said, we found out that you are, our distant cousin. We want you to come to Chicago and come hang out with us. And when you got there, they rolled the red carpet out for you. And I'm talking about,
they're like, cousin.
Hey, cousin, right? And then they got you on Instagram, like, hey, this is my cousin. We love, blah blah blah, whatever, right? When you go back to Cleveland, everybody know, like, hey, you related to the Obamas? Like, you big time. How would you feel? Like, would you, like, if somebody didn't like you, would you really care?
Nah.
You would move real differently, right? You would be like, what? Obama is my cousin. I don't care what you say.
Right.
You would act differently. You will go in rooms with more confidence. Now, if you feel like that with Obama, like, how much more should you feel like that with God?
Yeah, that's
who
good.
created him, who is the
Right.
creator of everything. So for us, it's like, my wife and I are trying to embed that into the very fabric of what we do with Maximize Your Singleness and the membership, because we feel like if we can get you there first, everything else will just start to fall in line. You will work differently. You will feel like you can be better. So it's so that identity is everything.
It's everything. And I wanted to talk about that because it's been so much of my journey, and something I talk about, and I help people discover their purpose. But you can't discover your purpose until you know who you are as a person. And for me, walking it out, and you touched on it about God, like God, I had to sit with God to learn who God is.
Come on.
To know who I am.
Come on.
And it's like we say these things so loose, like made in his image and his likeness. And it's just like this casual thing that we just repeat and we rehearse. And it's just like, wait, I'm made in this image?
Yeah.
And there's so much that says that you will never know the fullness of God. It's so vast, it's so big, it's so much that in a lifetime, you won't even know all of it. And so just that alone, for me, it's like, okay, well, I am happy. I am joy. I am love. I am peace. I am gentleness. I am kind. I was like, all right. So then all this other stuff that was functioning in me isn't really truth. So anger, and pain, and trauma, dysfunction, right? All these other things that really reflect darkness versus reflection of light. God was like peeling those away.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not who you are.
Yeah.
I understand how you got here.
Yeah.
But in order for us to move in the direction of purpose, we have to let those things go. And in letting go, there means that making room for something new.
Yeah.
So I let go of pain, I receive joy.
Yeah.
Let go of hate, I receive love.
Yeah.
And so it's been this amazing transition over time to now be able to walk in what we call the true self versus the false self, because all these things that you go through in life can create an identity.
Yeah.
That's what identity, right? You adapt to your environment, your family, your culture, language, education, all these elements curate an identity.
Yeah.
So if all of that is rooted in darkness and negativity, then your identity is going to be that. Well, you're always angry. Why are you always mad? You're always fighting. You're always drinking and doing those things. So that identity piece is critical to get to the point of even getting to purpose. And that's why I wanted you to talk about that.
Yeah.
And so in purpose for you, how does purpose drive your day to day? And you can maybe even talk to some of you and your wife's day to day in that process with purpose.
Yeah. Purpose. If I wasn't doing work for singles, that would probably be the next, like, that would be my absolute, like, focus, is helping people to get in purpose. Which, I mean, I still do that with singles or whatnot, but that's not that's just a component of what we do. But if I didn't do this, that would be my thing, because purpose is so important to, living a life of fulfillment. There are so many people who are wandering aimlessly through life every single day. They don't have no goals. They don't have no vision for themselves. They don't have no target. Like right now, if I said, I want you to just aim at that wall, right? Let's say we had dark and this whole wall is a sticky wall or whatever. And I'm like, just throw a dart at the wall. You throw a dart at the wall, you'll just throw whatever, right? But if I said, I need you to throw a dart right there and it's right next to that thing that says airplay, automatically you start to create this mindset that, okay, that's my target.
Right.
So now I'm going to aim. I'm going to throw it and I'm going to miss. It's going to go low. Okay, so I threw it, but it missed. It went low. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to aim a little higher and I'm gonna throw it. But then you aim too high and you went over it, right? So you're like, okay, well, let me bring it down a little bit. And you threw it and it went to the right. Then you threw it and it went to the left. And then you went down. But then you start to get to a point where you keep trying these things so much that you start to get good at it. And next thing you know, you hit that target. How can you ever hit a target if you don't even know what your target is? How can you know what your target is if you don't have a purpose for your life? You said it earlier when you was talking about so many entrepreneurs, they're like, or just people in general, like we come up with businesses because we're solving a problem. But a lot of times we solve a problem because we're paying attention to what frustrates us, right? So it's like, what undeniable burdens, right? What is something that keeps you up at night? What is something that bothers you? Obvious problems. What is something that frustrates you? Like simple things like a company created this thing that goes between the seat of the car because phone and keys kept dropping between. You know how people be trying to get there. They created something like that. It's a simple problem. What is a problem that you want to solve? What keeps you up at night? What are you passionate about that just makes you come alive? What is something that's constantly reoccurring in your mind? You ever just be like, man, this thing just keep coming back.
Keep bugging.
It just keep coming back. These are signs that, you need to go ahead and move forward with those things. And then also paying attention to your gifts. What naturally comes to you that doesn't come to other people? What do people naturally draw to you for? But people are so unintentional about doing the work of really figuring out what their purpose is that they just settle into just doing something that doesn't bring fulfillment to their lives. And then they're miserable. The average American, I think, lives to be, 80 years old or 78, I think. So let's just round it to 80 for easy math. The average American lives to be 80. The average American works 30 to 40 years of their lives, majority of them doing a job they do not love. The average American sleeps roughly a third of their life away. So you're asleep roughly 25 years of your life.
That's crazy.
So if the average person lives to be 80, you subtract 30 years of them working a job they do not love, 25 years of them being asleep, they're left with what? 25 years. And then in those 25 years, you got to eat, you got to commute, you got to bathe, you got to spend time with family. Let's just say you spend another 15 years of your life doing the necessities. Now you're left with 10 years. But you're 25 right now. You're 35 right now. So that 10 years is already gone. So when do you ever have time to really do what you love? What do you ever have time to do what you're called to do? So I think that people have to be extremely diligent in figuring out what it is that they want to do and then pursue that thing. But then that goes back to we were talking about the belief and focus and all that stuff. So
no, it's good. It's really good. So I love. We can talk, right? Because we're both passionate and it aligns for where we're at, and I love these type of dialogues because you feel it. And I hope the audience and the people watching, listening to this when this comes out, they feel that, they can touch that. But I love to wrap episodes up with a pure message. That's what the Mastery platform is all about. It's about a pure message for our generation. And so for you, what is that pure message? And I know it changes, right? So what for you right now in this season, what's that pure message that you would like to give away?
I would say, again, going back to singleness, it's so important. Don't let anyone treat you like a second class citizen. Don't let anyone treat you like you have to be married to be significant. Healthy singles create healthy dating. Healthy dating creates healthy relationships. Healthy relationships create healthy engagement. Healthy engagement creates healthy marriage. Healthy marriage creates healthy family. Healthy family creates healthy community. Healthy communities create healthy societies. Healthy society creates a healthy world, but it all starts with a healthy single. So don't let anyone ever tell you that your singleness is not significant. Just as much as we were born human beings, we were born single. So there's work for you to do in this season of your life if you want to transition into the next. But even if you don't desire marriage, you can be the best version of yourself right now. So
that's good. Right? At that point, we just dropped the mic. No, it's good. And I'm loving that, we get to support what you guys are doing. I want to learn more personally and see how I can be a part of what you guys are building. So how can people, your author, your mentor, your coach, how can people get in touch with you and connect with you and learn more about what you guys are doing? Yeah,
so you can follow me on Instagram or social media platforms, Twan Steele, TwanSteele, Facebook, Antwan Steele. You can email me at info@antwansteele.com. Or if you want to sign up to be a part of our membership, the Maximize Your Singleness membership, MaximizeYourSinglenessMembership.com. You can go there. You can click the link in my bio. we are about to make a matter of fact, I'm sure when this comes out, you know, by the time we would have made the announcements, we are going to shut down enrollment for the membership starting September 1st, and it's going to stay open until October 5th, our anniversary. So if you see this and you want to get in, make sure you do it soon as possible. I'm not going to say, you know, what the prices is going to be, but it might be going up when we come back.
All right.
So yeah, that's how you could tap in with me.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining the show. Any last things that you want to share before we wrap?
No, I just want to say that I appreciate you. Thank you for allowing me to be on your platform to share what we do. You said you're 81 episodes. That speaks to a level of consistency. Like, you can't fake that. You can't just say, you know, or hope or think or you know, suggest or maybe, you know, think in your mind that this person is, you know, is consistent. You're actually putting forth the work, and you have living proof. You have evidence of it. So I just want you to know that I appreciate you for your hard work and your dedication to allowing this platform to highlight people like us. So
thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for joining. So much knowledge, so much wisdom. And I love to see what you're doing and how we can just support. So
yeah, absolutely.
Episode 81. I'm gonna work on the title, but this has been a good time with you. So again, thank you for joining the show, and all of you listening and watching. You've been tuning in to the Masla Ray Show. This episode 81 featuring Antwan Steele, an amazing powerhouse with him and his wife, and we're just blessed and humbled to create a platform where we bring more light everywhere through heart-to-heart conversations. And we're signing off. Peace.